In today's video, let's have a look at Ben Hogan's secret. It's something everyone wants to know. Was there anything specific that Ben Hogan did that enabled him to become the expert player that he was? Now, I think famously it was Tiger Woods in his younger days who used to say he wanted to emulate the ball control of either Ben Hogan and or Mo Norman. Let's take a deep dive into what it is that Ben Hogan did that enabled him to become such a legendary ball striker. So let's have a look at Hogan's swing and what distinguished him from his peers. What are the key moves that he put into place that made him such a formidable golfer? So the first thing I would notice when we look at him at address, you can see he has his right elbow tucked in close to his left, like so. So he's externally rotating the trail shoulder, he's pronating the forearm, he's squeezing the elbows, he's in this position here. Notice also how he has his feet turned out, which is absolutely going to help him in terms of shifting his weight forwards, in terms of flexing the lead leg, extending the trail leg like so. It's going to help him to get his trail hip back up and around during the backswing. And that's what we see him do. So throughout his backswing, he's staying nice and centered with his head, and his hips are incrementally working forwards. And he does this throughout his swing. If we have a look at his swing takeaway, you'll notice how his left shoulder is moving downwards, enabling him to remain stable with his head. So he's making a backswing where his weight, his hips remain in a forward position, his head is very centered, he makes a centered shoulder turn. Then as he starts the downswing, you can see there's a considerable weight shift with the hips going towards the target. And as he's doing that, he's bringing his hands away from his trail shoulder. At P6 here, he has his left arm practically through his belt buckle. You see how his butt end of the club is almost lined up with the ball. So he's going to be in a position where it's very easy for him to have his handle forwards as he strikes the ball. And again, he's doing this the whole time while shifting his hips incrementally towards the target. So you'll notice as he comes into the golf ball and he gets to impact, his upper body is side bent to the right like so. As he keeps on going through the ball, we can note how his belt buckle is raising. So it started, say, 30 inches from the ground and it's finishing upwards of that. So let's say 33, 34 inches from the ground. And notice just how straight his arms are in this position. The other thing to note is how much he is banking his trail foot. So see how the heel of his foot is never actually shifting backwards of the toes. It remains in this forward position because of the movement of the hips towards the target, because he's extending, because he's stretching his spine. Notice how his chest is pointing up towards the sky, targetwards. He's making all these moves that enable him to be one of the best ball strikers in the world. Now, in terms of secret, are any of these things particularly different to what all the great ball strikers through the ages have done? No, he's just doing them all very nicely. He's put them all together in such a way that it works. If you think of those keywords, I've said a lot of weight forwards during this little explanation. I've said arms straight during this explanation. I've said shoulder down during this explanation. They are all things that the best golfers do. They are all things that you need to work on in your swing if you want to become a better golfer. You don't need to be looking for a secret. You need to be doing the key moves of a golf swing, the key principles of a golf swing better and better. And that is how this leads to your improvement, because you're making sound moves rather than your typical swing. In this slide right here, I've collated some of the pictures taken from, here it was the magazine Sports Illustrated back in 1957, and the pictures used in Ben Hogan's book, The Modern Fundamentals. Probably the most well-known, the most sold golf instruction book of all time. So again, just in terms of key concepts, some of the pictures taken from the book, so you can see how at address, really squeezing the elbows together, getting them in this position like I described earlier. So the external rotation, the elbows down, pointing to the hip, rotate the forearm, get your right hand grip back on the club, but really squeezing the elbows together, the idea of a straight arm through the swing. Then if we look at the top of the backswing, you'll notice the left arm hasn't elevated above the pitch of the shoulders. There's depth. The hands are behind the trail shoulder, let's say 6 inches behind it. He hasn't lifted his arms off his rib cage excessively. So the left arm is below the pitch of the shoulders. The hands have gone inwards. Then as he hits the golf ball, you can see he has his handle forwards, so his left wrist is slightly flexed here, which is good insurance against having it the other way. The bottom line is, with his handle forwards, he's able to strike the ball cleanly. If we look down, weight forwards, clearly you can see the picture with his weight having gone towards the target. Left arm club, nice straight line. The hands towards the left thigh, exactly where you'd expect to see it. You start to see the studs under the shoe, under the right shoe, showing to the person behind, filming from down the line. Famously, this picture here, top of the backswing, where you see the nice centered shoulder turn, and depending on which way you think he's illustrating this, so either the black ring would be the shoulder turn, which would be in front of the hip turn, and that would be an indication that he's really describing the extension happening, which is obviously very, very important. Or you could be thinking, okay, we're looking at this from this view, and the red line are the hips, the black line are the shoulders, and in which case it would still be a really good representation of the top of the backswing with the centered shoulder turn and the weight incrementally going forwards. And notice how he's obviously making the hips turn, which is indicated in this slide right here. So it's very important to let your hips turn in the backswing. Do not keep the trail leg flexed. Do not try and wind up against the solid lower half. The lower half has to be involved. It has to be active. And finally, when we look at this final picture, he's in full extension, belt buckle's gone forwards and upwards towards the target, chest to the sky, looks absolutely classic. So all these moves are things that the best golfers of all time have always demonstrated. They are part and parcel of how you become a good golfer. If you have those key moves in place in your swing, you will undoubtedly improve. So as we've seen, does Ben Hogan really have a secret? No, not at all. He just does the basics really well. The basics, the key moves that I talk about day in, day out, and on these videos all the time. That is why Ben Hogan was such a good player and had such great control of his golf ball. Now, none of these things are impossible. You can start to emulate him. You can start to build these into your swing. Think of these key moves: shoulder down, weight forwards, hands in, arms straight, tug the hips, handle forwards, straighten trail leg. There are so many of these key things you can just start to incorporate one by one into your swing, and that will significantly enhance your skill level. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions at all, please don't forget to pop them down below. If you'd like the content of a video, then please do like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my future tips. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Cheers.